Hey everyone! The story of Camilla, King Charles, and the late Princess Diana remains one of the most controversial chapters in modern royal history. An intricate web of betrayal, ambition, and manipulation, all disguised as love and duty. While the world embraced Diana as a symbol of kindness and compassion, it also witnessed the forces working against her. A trio of obstacles: the royal institution, her husband, and, most significantly, Camilla Parker Bowles. Camilla's role in this saga was no accident. Despite the carefully crafted image of a supportive confidant, her presence in Charles's life was anything but harmless. She wasn't just the other woman. That term is far too forgiving. Instead, she was a deliberate disruptor, seizing every opportunity to solidify her place while systematically chipping away at Diana's happiness. Her influence didn't just complicate Diana's marriage, it undermined it entirely, ensuring that Diana was left isolated in a battle she was never meant to win. Camilla's scheming becomes even clearer when comparing her to Diana. Where Diana radiated kindness and vulnerability, Camilla seemed to represent the opposite: calculated, opportunistic, and, some might say, coldly manipulative. Her relentless pursuit of Charles, even after his marriage, was not an act of undying love, but of ruthless ambition. Diana's famous remark about there being 3 in this marriage was more than just a candid confession. It was a stark truth about a toxic dynamic carefully orchestrated to secure Camilla's eventual victory. What's most striking is how Camilla shaped the public's perception of her. With a carefully crafted image of quiet resilience, she managed to distance herself from the pain Diana endured. Yet, the reality was far less sympathetic. Camilla thrived behind the scenes, pulling strings and manipulating situations, while Diana suffered the fallout both publicly and privately. It's almost as if she embraced her role as the perennial villain, effortlessly rewriting the narrative to suit her own triumph. All the while, Camilla smiled for the cameras, insisting on her innocence. But to truly understand the depth of her impact, one must look at the toll her actions took on Diana's mental health. The relentless comparisons, the feeling of being overshadowed, and the constant erosion of her self-worth left Diana isolated, insecure, and increasingly fragile. She struggled not only with her role as a wife and royal, but with the painful reality that the very man who should have supported her was instead complicit in her humiliation. And behind it all was Camilla, steadfast, self-assured, and unmoved. Her quiet confidence only making Diana's suffering more glaring. Even now, decades after Diana's tragic death, Camilla's rise to queen consort remains a bitter pill for many to swallow. To some, it doesn't feel like the culmination of a great love story, but rather the reward for years of careful maneuvering. The public's acceptance of Camilla has been slow and reluctant, a lingering testament to the resentment many still feel toward her role in this painful chapter of royal history. Every step Camilla takes as a royal feels like an insult to Diana's memory, a painful reminder that ruthlessness can sometimes prevail over virtue. The irony is striking. As Camilla rises in status, Diana's legacy only grows stronger. While Camilla may hold titles and wield influence within the royal family, she will never command the deep love and admiration that Diana continues to inspire. The people's princess remains a symbol of grace, compassion, and resilience, a legacy untouched by time. No amount of image polishing can erase the stain of Camilla's past actions. Diana's memory lives on as a beacon of love and inspiration, while Camilla's name is forever linked to ambition and betrayal. This contrast is even more apparent when looking at the younger generation of royals. Diana's sons, Prince William and Prince Harry, have each honored their mother's legacy in their own ways, speaking openly about her warmth and lasting influence. Meanwhile, Camilla's relationship with them remains distant, an unspoken divide that speaks volumes. It's hard to imagine William and Harry seeing Camilla as anything more than a necessary presence in their father's life, a living reminder of a painful chapter that brought their mother deep sorrow. As for Charles, his role in this saga cannot be ignored. His failure to shield Diana from Camilla's interference and his own inability to fully commit to his marriage paints a damning picture of his character. While his love for Camilla may have been genuine, his disregard for Diana's well-being exposes a troubling lack of empathy. His actions, or rather his inaction, left Diana to navigate a world where she was constantly undermined, isolated, and betrayed by the very person who had vowed to stand by her side. Charles's actions during this turbulent period raise serious doubts about his suitability as a leader, let alone as a symbol of moral authority. Meanwhile, in the court of public opinion, Camilla remains a deeply polarizing figure. For every person who has come to accept her as Charles's wife, there are countless others who cannot forgive the pain she caused Diana. Every public appearance, every smile and wave, serves as a reminder of the heartbreak that still lingers, a ghost of Diana's suffering that will never fully fade. Camilla's journey from mistress to queen consort may be seen by some as a triumph of love over adversity. But for many, it stands as a bitter testament to the enduring power of manipulation and ambition. No amount of PR efforts or carefully staged photo ops can erase the damage she inflicted on Diana's life and legacy. As the royal family continues to evolve, one thing remains clear. Camilla's story is not one of redemption, but of calculated ascension, a reality that history will never forget. Camilla's legacy will always be overshadowed by the brilliance of Diana's enduring star. The saga of Charles, Diana, and Camilla is more than just a royal scandal. It is a tale of betrayal, entitlement, and one woman's heartbreaking struggle against the very people who should have protected her. At the center of this drama lies an undeniable truth. Much of the blame falls squarely on Charles. As the man destined to uphold tradition and safeguard his family, he instead allowed Camilla to infiltrate his marriage, shattering the life of a woman who deserved far better. Charles was groomed from birth to be king, expected to embody dignity and moral strength. Yet, his actions revealed a man defined by selfishness and weakness. His marriage to Diana wasn't just a personal commitment, it was a duty to the nation. But from the very beginning, he failed to honor that sacred bond. By continuing his affair with Camilla, he not only betrayed Diana but also disregarded the expectations placed upon him as a future monarch. Charles didn't just betray Diana. He tarnished the very institution he was meant to uphold. It begs the question, was this the behavior of a future king, or merely the indulgence of a spoiled prince who believed himself above accountability? His actions, or lack thereof, set the stage for the entire debacle. By refusing to sever ties with Camilla, he effectively gave her permission to insert herself into his marriage, creating an environment where Diana was continually undermined and humiliated. Struggling in a marriage is one thing, but enduring such betrayal on a public stage is another entirely. Charles's insistence on keeping Camilla in his life was not a testament to love. It was an act of sheer arrogance, a declaration that his desires mattered more than his wife's happiness and well-being. And what of Camilla? Her role in this story was far from passive or incidental. She was not an innocent bystander caught in the pull of Charles's affections. She was an active participant in the steady erosion of Diana's confidence and stability, a force that contributed to the pain Diana endured. Camilla's continued presence in Charles's life sent Diana a devastating message. She would never be enough. Whether intentional or not, this emotional warfare left wounds that no amount of public admiration could heal. Camilla's actions were not simply those of a woman in love. She knew exactly what she was doing. She took advantage of Charles's weaknesses, embedding herself so deeply in his world that removing her became unthinkable. While some may argue that she and Charles shared a genuine connection, that does not erase the damage she caused. Love, when pursued at the expense of another's dignity and happiness, is no longer noble. It becomes a weapon. And Camilla wielded hers with precision, ensuring Diana's place in the marriage was always under threat. Meanwhile, Diana found herself in an impossible situation. As a young bride thrust into the royal spotlight, she was already struggling to navigate the complexities of her new life. Adding to that burden was a husband who was emotionally distant and unwilling to let go of the woman who had been by his side long before Diana ever entered the picture. Diana's situation was made even more unbearable by a husband who was emotionally unavailable and a rival who refused to relent. Every attempt she made to navigate this minefield was met with little support, leaving her isolated and vulnerable. Despite her best efforts to be a devoted wife, mother, and princess, Diana was fighting a losing battle against forces determined to see her fail. The true tragedy of it all is how easily this could have been avoided. Had Charles chosen to honor his vows or Camilla respected the boundaries of his marriage, Diana might have been spared years of heartache and turmoil. Instead, she was left to endure a battle that should never have been hers to fight. Instead, both Charles and Camilla acted with shocking disregard for the consequences of their actions, putting their own desires above the well-being of others. Their behavior speaks volumes about who they are. Charles, a man unwilling to take responsibility for his choices, and Camilla, a woman willing to trample on another's happiness to secure her own. What makes this betrayal even more egregious are its broader implications. Diana's struggles weren't just about being a princess. They reflect the challenges faced by countless women who find themselves sidelined or undermined in their relationships. Her story resonates not because of her title, but because she was human, a woman who loved, trusted, and was ultimately let down by those closest to her. In this way, Diana's experience goes beyond the royal context, shining a light on the universal pain of betrayal and the strength required to endure it. The imbalance of power in Diana's marriage only deepened her suffering. Charles held all, the power, and Camilla was his willing accomplice. Together, they created an environment where Diana was constantly undermined, her dignity and happiness overlooked for their own gain. Diana was forced to constantly defend herself, fighting for her place in a relationship that should have been her sanctuary. This dynamic serves as a harsh reminder of how easily power can be abused, leaving those without it to bear the consequences. Camilla's role as the other woman is often downplayed by those who try to paint her as a victim of circumstance. But her actions speak differently. She knew full well the pain her relationship with Charles would cause Diana, and she pursued it regardless. Her strategic moves to secure her place in Charles's life weren't those of a woman swept up in a romance. They were the actions of someone determined to claim what she believed was hers, no matter the cost. Charles's role in all of this cannot be understated. His failure to protect Diana from Camilla's intrusion was not just a personal failure. It was a dereliction of his duties as both a husband and a future king. By allowing Camilla to remain in his life, He didn't just betray Diana, he also undermined the integrity of the royal family. Charles's actions, or lack thereof, sent a clear message. His desires mattered more than his responsibilities. This sentiment has left a lasting stain on his legacy. The repercussions of this betrayal continue to echo, casting long shadows over the royal family. While Charles and Camilla eventually married, their union is far from the fairy tale they may want it to be. It is a relationship built on the ruins of another, a constant reminder of the pain and suffering they caused. No amount of royal titles or public appearances can erase the harm they inflicted, nor rewrite the narrative that Diana's supporters hold dear. Diana's story is one of incredible resilience in the face of unbearable hardship. Her ability to rise above the cruelty and pettiness of those who tried to tear her down is a true testament to her strength and character. Yet it is impossible to ignore the toll this took on her, a toll that could have been avoided had it not been for the selfish actions of Charles and Camilla. Their betrayal wasn't just against Diana. It was against the very values they were supposed to uphold. Charles and Camilla's actions have left a legacy of mistrust and disillusionment. As we reflect on this complex and tragic saga, it's clear that the fault does not lie with Diana, but with those who failed her. Charles and Camilla's decisions reveal a shocking disregard for the consequences of their actions. Selfishness that stands in stark contrast to Diana's grace and compassion. Their betrayal serves as a painful reminder of the harm that can be caused when love is pursued at the expense of others. A lesson that remains all too relevant today. The story of Camilla, Charles, and Diana is nothing short of a tragic melodrama filled with betrayal, cowardice, and emotional devastation. It's a tale that leaves one shaking their head in disbelief, wondering how such a fiasco could unfold within the walls of what is supposed to be the most dignified institution in Britain. Looking back, it's impossible not to feel a mix of anger and pity. Anger at the reckless actions of Charles and Camilla, and pity for Diana, who endured so much pain and heartache because of them. It's difficult to understand how Camilla could so boldly insert herself into someone else's marriage and act as though she belonged there. She wasn't just the other woman. She was a relentless, calculated presence, making sure Diana could never feel secure or valued in her own relationship. Diana was just 20 years old when she married Charles, a young, hopeful, and vulnerable woman stepping into a daunting role. Camilla, on the other hand, was older, more experienced, and fully aware of her actions and their consequences. Camilla's actions show just how aware she was of the damage she was causing. The audacity of it all is staggering. Her very presence in Diana's marriage was damaging enough, but the fact that she seemed to take pleasure in the chaos she created truly cements her as a figure of disdain. Camilla's smile, so often seen in public, doesn't feel warm. It's more like the grin of someone who knows they've won. But let's be clear, winning at the cost of another woman's happiness isn't a victory. It's a hollow, pathetic conquest that speaks volumes about her character. To say she was manipulative would be an understatement. Camilla played her part to perfection, positioning herself as indispensable to Charles while continually undermining Diana at every turn. The cruelty of her actions is both breathtaking and infuriating. And then there's Charles, the spineless architect of this disaster. For a man groomed from birth to lead, he showed none of that leadership when it came to his personal life. Instead of committing to his marriage with Diana, a marriage he had promised to honor, he chose to prioritize his own desires. Charles willingly allowed Camilla to stay in the shadows, creating a toxic love triangle that left everyone suffering. He had a choice: honor his vows or follow his heart. Instead, He chose the coward's path, trying to have it both ways and leaving Diana to bear the weight of his selfishness. Charles's failure wasn't just a betrayal of Diana. It was a betrayal of the very values he was supposed to uphold. How could a man destined to lead a nation be so incapable of managing his own life? His actions, or lack thereof, revealed a stunning lack of maturity and strength. Instead of standing up for his wife or taking responsibility for the mess he'd caused, he hid behind his title, his status, and, of course, Camilla. Diana deserved more, not just as a wife, but as a human being. Her situation was heartbreaking. She entered the royal family with the best intentions, only to find herself trapped in a marriage that felt more like a facade than a partnership. She wasn't just competing with Camilla, she was fighting for her own dignity and happiness. Diana wasn't just battling Camilla, she was up against an entire system that seemed determined to minimize her worth. Despite this, she remained a shining light, a devoted mother, a compassionate philanthropist, and a beacon of hope for millions. Her resilience was extraordinary, but even the strongest people have their breaking points. The infamous line, "There were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded," wasn't just a sharp remark. It was a cry for help, a heartbreaking revelation of the pain Diana endured every day. Camilla wasn't just a passive participant in this saga. She was an active antagonist. Her presence served as a constant reminder to Diana that she would never have her husband's full love or loyalty. The psychological toll of this betrayal is immeasurable. Camilla's defenders often argue that she and Charles shared a deep, unbreakable bond, claiming theirs was a love story for the ages. But let's call it what it truly was: a selfish, destructive obsession that trampled over the dignity and well-being of another woman. True love doesn't require deceit, manipulation, and cruelty. What Camilla and Charles had was far from love. It was a toxic dynamic that cost Diana everything. It wasn't love, it was toxic. The fact that Charles and Camilla felt entitled to pursue it, regardless of the collateral damage, is what makes their actions so unforgivable. Charles, in particular, played a significant role in this mess. He had the power to put an end to it at any point, yet he chose not to. Whether out of fear, indecision, or sheer arrogance, he let the situation spiral. His failure to prioritize his wife's happiness over his own desires speaks volumes about his character. Diana deserved a partner who would cherish and protect her, not one who would betray and humiliate her publicly. And then there's Diana. She was the ultimate casualty in this sordid affair, a woman who gave everything to a marriage that was doomed from the start. Despite the immense pressure and heartbreak, she endured. She never let it define her. Instead, she channeled her pain into purpose, becoming a voice for the voiceless, and a symbol of hope for countless people. Diana's grace and strength in the face of unimaginable adversity are what make her legacy so powerful and enduring. Even though she may have faced hardship, Diana was never truly defeated. The difference between her genuine nature and Camilla's calculated image couldn't be more obvious. Diana shone with warmth, compassion, and was loved by many, while Camilla often comes across as petty, insincere, and opportunistic. Diana inspired admiration and love, but Camilla tends to spark only skepticism and disdain. It's easy to see why Diana's kindness made her relatable, while Camilla's actions painted her as the ultimate other woman. This story isn't just about infidelity. It's a lesson about power, privilege, and the personal costs of selfishness. Charles and Camilla may have found their version of happiness, but at what price? Their choices left behind a trail of pain that will never completely disappear. Diana's death was heartbreaking, but it also served as a wake-up call, showing the real consequences of betrayal. Reflecting on all of this, it's impossible not to feel a deep sense of injustice. Diana deserved a love that was real and pure. Her love for Charles was constant, pure, and unwavering, yet she was trapped in a marriage that felt more like a performance than a real union. While Charles and Camilla may attempt to rewrite history, the truth is clear. Their love story was built on the destruction of Diana's happiness. Diana's legacy will always shine brighter than theirs. She will forever be remembered as the people's princess, a woman of unmatched grace, courage, and compassion. As for Charles and Camilla, their story will serve as a cautionary tale, a reminder that love based on betrayal is no true love at all. If you found this story as captivating and frustrating as we did, don't forget to hit the like button and share your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about the tangled saga of Charles, Camilla, and Diana? Were the betrayals truly unforgivable? Or is there more to the story than what meets the eye? We'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our channel for more royal updates, juicy details, and insider commentary. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.